Let me just. Oh, hi everyone. I'm Sophie. Honestly, I think what's going to be easier is that I'll give you like background information and then you can ask me questions because over the past 3 years that I have been covering the Vatican, there has happened a lot of things. So I'd rather answer specific questions and then choose random topics around it that just me talking. So, well, I'm from Guatemala, but well, I'm from El Salvador technically, but I have only lived there for a year, and then I moved to Spain for 4 years, then again to Guatemala. Well, then moved to Guatemala for 12, then went back to Spain for college, and then I came here to Rome right after college. I studied marketing and creative communication in the University of Navarra in the north of Spain. And on my last year of college, I really started having like this internal doubts if I chose the right career or not. And my dad told me like, why don't you use your last free summer, if you want to call it like that, for like to discover if your passion is really marketing or if it's really more journalism. So I started applying in Spain, but then my little brother was like, you should go and explore other countries, other opportunities, like what's going to stop you? And he had been recently in Rome a few weeks before we had that conversation, and he told me like you should apply to this little TV news agency, it covers Vatican. I don't know if you're interested. And I was like, I mean, I don't have anything to, so I applied to that TV news agency, and I received an answer like 2 days after. The first answer was no, there's no space up until September. And for me, it was like, no, in September, I don't really want to like wait until September to explore this path. So I was like, well, it's not my thing. But then 2 weeks after that conversation, I received another phone call and they told me like, look, the girl that was supposed to come to do the internship during summer, she said that she's not gonna come anymore and we would like to give you the opportunity to to be with us for a few months. And so I was like, okay. And so I decided to change my life in the span of time of 2 weeks because I had to be here by July 1st. And this conversation was like June 12th. And that's when this adventure started. Um, it's very interesting because literally I discovered over the first month of being here in Rome is that my thing was not writing news pieces, but more the brand image and like communicating through social media. So I decided to start like reapplying and rechanging a little bit my path in the company, at least to enjoy a little bit more those 3 months of internship. And then what were supposed to be 3 months of internship became 6 months. And it was very nice because honestly, I didn't really have any idea of what the church was or how it really worked. So for the first 3 months, my boss was like, you need to study the story of the church. You need to study more about Pope Francis. You need to study about this and that. So I really got to learn a lot about the story of the church. The story of the Vatican it's very, very, very complete. It's very profound. I also studied diplomacy, like the Vatican diplomacy, because it seems it's just like conversations here and there, but it's way more. Um, I studied JP2. I studied Pope Benedict the 16th because he was very sick too. So we we were previewing uh his death. It sounds very cold, just said like that, but we were just like getting ready just in case anything could happen. And then on December 31st, we received the email, and that was for me, my first major coverage in Rome. It was the death of Pope Benedict XVI. And because of that experience, I I got to sign a contract, and now I've been here for the past 3 years. Uh, and it has been honestly one hell of an adventure. So over these 3 years, besides getting to meet the Pope and talk with him and like follow his day-to-day agenda, I've learned a lot of things too because you really need to get into the story of the church and its changings, but also you need to be into politics and diplomacy because at the end, the Vatican's still a country. And even though the Pope's still the head of the church, he's still the head of a country too. So trying to understand that balance between pol diplomacy and like religion, it's very complex. Um, So I would like for you guys to ask me questions better, like specific questions, because I don't know how like the approach of how to take this. So if you guys can ask me questions, I can answer them because 3 years is a lot of time.
Okay, guys, you can ask questions. I don't know if you have questions. Maybe you can raise your hands.
Or you can text it on the chat if you don't want to speak.
Of course. Okay, Ariana.
Yeah, so my main question is just because I'm not sure if I understood this right, but do you work for a private newspaper, but you're like focused on covering Vatican the Vatican as an area of interest, or
So yeah, so the Vatican, okay, the Vatican has his like the main office of communication, and inside this office you have Vatican News, Vatican Radio, the newspaper
oh, so
that
you work for the Vatican, not just for
no,
like
no. I'm trying to give you the background.
okay.
So, and then there you have the press office. And so media from all over the world get accredited to the press office. And so I used to work in a TV news agency specialized in Vatican coverage. And so I was accredited to the Holy See. I'm still accredited to the Holy See. But then in in April of this year, I stopped working with them and I started collaborating directly with the dicastery of of communications. So I'm a collaborator right now, but I work independently.
Okay, wow. Awesome. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you so much. More question, guys. You have an incredible opportunity. We have Sofia who works at the Vatican. Maybe Maria Fe, Nicolas. And of course, if you are shy, you can ask your question in Spanish and then I will type in English. Because Sofía,
I speak Spanish, so yeah, I
sí,
can also.
yo sé que algunos ahí hablan español, así que pueden hacer sus preguntas en español, quizá. Nicolás, María Fe también, que son de la pastoral.
Well,
Pero
then I'll just tell you random stories.
I think they are shy now, but no problem. I have a question for you, Sofía. Um, how was your first contact with the Pope, Leon? And yeah, I think that's a good way to pronounce in English. Leon.
Well, my first
I-
contact with him was actually not as him as a pope, but as a cardinal. I last year with the TV news agency I used to work, we produced a documentary on the Swiss Guards, and we invited him to preside over the ceremony. So since I was part of the production team, I got to speak a little bit with him and just chat. So that was my first like real contact with him. Um, and he was very nice, very sweet, still as shy as he is right now, if we want to put it like that. But then when he became Pope, the first time I really saw him up close, that was May 12th, I think. That the day that he gave us the audience. So his first public audience was for journalists. So it was very nice for him to like have this encounter with us. But I didn't really greet him. He just walked by in front of me. And then because I was working in the dicastery with the dicastery during July, well, pretty much July because August was literally non-existent because in August here in Italy, everyone goes on vacation. So it's work stops. And so during July, I got to be part of the organizing team of the Jubilee of Digital Missionaries and Catholic Influencers. And the day that he showed up for the mass, that he gave us a very cool speech about evangelization through social media. Um, we were supposed to give him a present that came from all the digital missionaries that didn't show up. And well, because of like everyone being so anxious and nervous, they ended up sitting us on the other side of the church, so we didn't really greet him. And then the bishop that was in charge of the whole organization was like, no, we need to give him the present, which was a very nice crucifix. It was like from 300 years ago. That was it was found in Puerto Rico. Uh, it was really rotten and like dirty and like so we rebuilt it, and then we were like we need to give him this. So 1 week after the Jubilee of Digital Missionaries, we got the chance to give him the present we didn't give him 1 week before, and that's the picture you see on the screen of me giving him a hug. And it was very nice because obviously, when you work as a journalist, you have the job to decipher a little bit how how do you think the Pope's gonna work, or how do you think he's gonna act, or how do you think he thinks based on his speeches, on the way he moves. So, as a journalist, you have a job of analyzing his person as a Pope, or as an Augustinian, or as who he was before. And so it's very nice to get to chat face to face because you meet the human part that sometimes we forget it exists, even though we know it exists. So it's very nice because he listens a lot and and well, since it's still his first few months as a pope, he really takes time with people. Like instead of going fast, like, oh hi, bye. No, he really takes time to listen to people, to their stories, to everything. And I was very lucky to go with other two friends that were working with us during the organization of the Jubilee of Digital Missionaries. And we explained him the story of the crucifix. He loved it. We gave him a t-shirt. It was one of my t-shirts, which was size small. So we joked around and we told him like, oh, I think it's not going to fit. But he was like, no worries, we'll just keep it for to keep you guys in mind. And that was my first time meeting him like as a pope, which was very nice. Because he's a good listener, but also he's very, how do you put it? Like if you ask him for a hug, he'll give you a hug. If you ask him for a picture, he'll give you a picture. If you like, he's very giving. Could you give us an advice for a communicator who wants to wait? I'm checking Nicola's question. Could you give us an advice for a communicator who wants to work for a church? How could we start? Well, depends which type of communicator you want to be. Like, because inside the church you have, I think, different categories. Depends if you wanna communicate, if you wanna do like digital mission, or if you wanna talk more about your faith, or if you're working for a diocese, it's different because that's more formal than digital missioning because you can tell it from your perspective, or if you want to work for specific media. So I think for starting, also depends where you want to work. If you want to work in your country, in your city, or if you want to explore other countries. But I think right now, as the young people we are, the best way to start is through social media. Like like there's a lot of people with this thirst of God, and not only God, but also this thirst of like knowing what the church really is. And right now we have plenty of fake news, plenty of everything. So my advice is to start from there, but also have like a solid base. And like if you want to study communication, focus on the church, you have different courses online. Here in Rome, you also have programs in the pontifical universities that can help you with that. A lot of priests known globally. I think there's this guy, this priest, Mexican priest, Padre Borre. He has a course. I think Padre Heriberto has a course too. In Chile, they have a course too, Padre Jota, and like they know way more about evangelization through social media. If you want to work more in a like TV news agency or like Vatican, a Vatican office too, that's possible too. Most of them are here in Rome, but I don't know if that's your plan if you want to move here to Rome. Uh, but for working in the Vatican too, you can search in their web page. You would work in the Vatican, and then you can see all the jobs that are available. And sometimes, of course, they're looking for people that work in communication. I don't know if that's
That's
good.
nice. Thank you. I
Hi,
have
sorry, I tried you later. I was wondering if you could tell us your experience of Pope Francis and the first part of your 3 years in the Vatican. Oh yeah, so I got to meet Pope Francis like face to face maybe October 2022. It was like on my 4 month here. Third month here, sorry. Uh so how okay, so at the beginning, so when I came, I didn't really know for how long I was gonna stay, so I didn't really wanna I know the Vatican protocols are very strict. So for you to go to the Pope, you have to be or very like you have to think fast and and you have to be like agile. You have to be not afraid of anything. So since I'm not afraid of talking and saying hi to people, I really got to see him plenty of times, especially during general audiences. So at the beginning, since I was not accredited, I went to a general audience like a normal person. And then after Pope Benedict's death, I got my physical accreditation, I got a contract, and so I I was able to be part of the journalist zones. So we have a closer access. And so it's very interesting because Pope Francis had a great memory. Still a little hard to speak of him in the past tense, but he had a great memory. Like he remembered names and faces so easily, so easily. So during my first months in Rome, I saw him, especially during general audiences. I took videos of him and pretty much like when he was passing by in the square in the Pope Mobile or in the politics hall, or maybe in some masses or events, but I wasn't really working there as a journalist. I was just another pilgrim, if you want to put it like that. And then I met him the first time because I don't know if you guys know about this movement called Hakuna. If you don't know it, it's a movement that was born in the World Day in Brazil almost 12 years ago. 12 years ago. And every year they have a congress here in Rome. And so most of the times we invite the Pope to come with us. If he wants to preside, he's welcome to preside. If he wants just to join us, he's welcome just to join us. And during that year Congress, he came to our holy hour in the Basilica. And I really got the chance to talk to him for like 30 seconds. And I was like, I'm Sofia, I'm working for this TV news agency. Can you give me your blessing? I was very nervous. It was my first time and I didn't know he was gonna show up. And then 1 year later, well, 9 months later, for my birthday, I got tickets for a general audience to be up next to where he speaks. That ticket's called Bachamano. And so I got to present myself again, even though he told me like, oh, but I know you. And I was like, well, I don't know if you know me, but I do know you. And it was very funny because he remembered me because he used to like he got used to seeing me every Wednesday down there in the press zones. And so he's like, "Yeah, yeah, you're always there wearing like jackets and like here and there dresses." And that was very shocking because I was not expecting that coming from him. And then he told me like you're also the youngest. Like I got to tell him like I was the youngest journalist accredited to the Holy See. I was that for like a year, the youngest journalist accredited to the Holy See. So it's very crazy for me to tell him that like how in the world it's possible. And then I don't know, like I saw him every Wednesday. I think he had in the past 3 years he had 121 general audiences. I went practically to 119 or 18. Like I just missed like three. So he really got the chance to remember my face. And then in other personal encounters, I got to that I got to talk with him a little bit more. Um, he was always very, very, very close. He remembered everything I told him on the previous conversation, which was shocking because he receives a lot of people every day. So it was very funny. He gave me a nickname. It was not Sophie. He called me in Spanish La Revoltosa. I don't know how to translate that to English. I don't know if there's a translation for that, but it's like when you're a little sneaky and you don't stay still and you're always moving around. And so once I got to ask him when he came back from a trip, and it's like, why do you call me this? And he was like, because you never know how to stay still. You're always moving around. Like, I don't know how security doesn't like go crazy with you because you're always moving around and you always get whatever you want. Like, I don't know. And I was like, okay, now it makes sense, but like he always called me or Sophie or La Revoltosa, which was funny. And then yeah, working close to him is very, very interesting. I don't know how many times I got to greet him personally because I really saw him plenty of times and like he always like I think what's cool about working as a journalist in the Vatican is that the relationship the Pope that has with the press is different than any other head of state of any other country. Like journalists here are very respected, they're loved, like he has a close relationship with them, well with us. We get to travel with him when he goes on an international trip. We get to be pretty close to him during his events or masses even here in Italy. So that's pretty cool. Like we get a very nice treatment compared of like the press in the United States or the press in any other country, the press with with the head of state or the president or the king or like so it's very unique. So I think that's also why all the journalists in general connect a lot with the Post because like he has access to all our birthdays everything. And sometimes if you're close to him, he sends you things. He sends you letters. He sends you, I don't know, cookies. He loved ice cream, so we brought him ice cream. He was like, "Oh, you drink the ice cream with me," and I don't know. So they're very close. So that's what I really enjoyed about being a journalist here. Let me see. There's another question. I was wondering if you have any perspective on what you think Pope Leo's approach to reaching Eastern Catholic will be. His first visit has been announced in Lebanon and seemed to pay a lot of attention in the Middle East. Um, wait a second, did I? Oh yeah, So, I think. Well, talking about the perspective, it's very hard right now, even though he's been very clear with some messages, because the first crucial like months are the first 12 months of pontificate. So right now he's still like I think he can shift a little bit on what his position is or his approach is going to be. But of course he wants to help. One thing I've learned about Vatican diplomacy too is that just because you don't hear or see it doesn't mean it's not being done. So imagine with countries that are in war, a lot of things happen behind the scenes that nobody really knows. So that's very interesting because they do it also for safety of the Catholics or the people that live there. Last year, I remember we had this uh, encounter with Cardinal Parolin, which is the Secretary of State. So it was an off-the-record meeting with him and journalists, and we, of course, we got to ask him about a lot of things, especially war situations, either like globally, not only in the East, sorry. And he was very nice because he told us a little bit about how the Vatican diplomacy works when there are lives involved. So um, I think it's very, very significant that his first international trip, is going to be to Lebanon and Turkey too, because he's gonna do the trip that Pope Francis was going to do for the anniversary of the Creed of Nicaea. No, so I don't know how to say in English. So it's very that's stuff like that's non-verbal language, which is important. But I think it's gonna be very, very huge. Have you
Yeah, sorry, if I can add to that, I was also wondering if you have a perspective beyond the diplomatic approach, also just to the general church approach, just because we know like Pope Francis and in general popes after Vatican II are big proponents of de-Latinization,
yeah.
especially in the Eastern rites, and I was wondering if you think Pope Leo will have a similar approach or not.
Yeah, well, I think Pope Leo is gonna like well, Pope Leo is very traditional, if we want to put it like that. He's part of the Augustinian order. So I think for him that part liturgically is very important. But also he doesn't want to like change he doesn't want to make drastic change to what has been made by Pope Francis. So I think he's gonna continue a little bit on Pope Francis's line and maybe add some touches about the tradition he wants to keep. I think that's what he's gonna do. We don't know because he's like I think these first few months are also important because he's still learning on how to be a pope and he's listening a lot. That's for sure. He's listening a lot. He wants everyone's opinions, and he's very careful with the decisions because, of course, anything he does or says, it's important generally. So I think these first few months are gonna be more dedicated to that before he makes major changes in anything, even in the liturgy or Vatican responsibles or like trips or like I don't know constitutions or anything like I think he wants to really understand globally what how's the church doing right now. So I think that before we really have a big answer about what his approach is really going to be in any other part of the world, it's gonna take some time. Then the next question. Have you ever faced the temptation of arrogance while working in such a unique place? Well, sometimes you feel like, I don't know if it's arrogance, but humility. Like, 'cause sometimes I forget like where I'm working. And so it's like, yeah, I start telling things like I'm telling you guys right now, and then I stop and I think and I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm so lucky. I get to meet the Pope. I get to see him every week. I get to walk in front of St. Peter's Square every day. So I've been working on humility, I think it's that. Because sometimes it's hard. But I think it's harder when you're the one facing the camera. Thank God, thank God for me. I've always been behind the scenes, so um it's less like likely for me to be recognized if you want to put it like that. So thank God, like I always try to convince myself that I need to be more humble, that I need to help people, I need to answer questions, I need to. So I'm working on that too because it's hard. It's hard, but I really try to go notice, honestly. Uh, Let me see. Hi, Sophia. I would like to know how your relationship with God has changed since working in the Vatican. And now you know more about how the church works from another perspective. As a Catholic, have you any? Oh, that's a very nice question. So I think here we have many factors. So, uh, like either professional and personal. So, from my point of view, personally, um, when I came to Rome, okay, no, when I graduated from high school, my relationship with God was weird because because of things that happened during my high school years. I really put on a distance with him, and so I was like a Catholic, but going in automatic. And then on 2022, at the like January 2022, like 6 months before I came to Rome, I like found God again through Hakuna because where I studied, Hakuna was big and I've always felt connected with music. And so for me, it was a very life-changing experience because I really understood that my relationship with God was personal, like between him and me, and not between him and me and someone else or someone else's idea or someone else's. Like it was very personal. And I started working on that relationship with God again, but it was very hard. And so the thing is that Spain, for me, is a very Catholic country. So it's very common to see young people going to the church, or especially in well, in the city where I studied, which, well, I went to a Catholic university. So a lot of students were Catholic. And so I lived my 4 years of college in like a bubble because for me, it was very normal to go to church with my friends from class or with my roommates. Like, it's very common. So going from a small city to a big city like Rome, that was very hard because here in Italy, well, here in Italy and in a lot of parts of the world, but here specifically in Italy, I've seen that the faith is very broken. It's not really common to see young people going to church or to mass. Everyone has questions. So um, it was very hard also because the language. Like I went to mass and I didn't understand what the priest was saying because I wasn't fluent in Italian at that time. So it was like for me it was very hard at the beginning personally because of the language barrier, the faith barrier between Spain and like Italy. Um, and then the like working for the Vatican, it's also very eye-opening because you understand a lot of things that maybe you didn't understand before. And the thing is that there's there's always bad people in any place, even in the Vatican. You're gonna find very bad people or people that want to harm the church or they want to do harm to anyone. And you find stories and you hear things and like of course you get to know firsthand about cases of abuse or situations that are very compromising for the church. But um, a part of me always tries to think like, yeah, the church is driven by humans, and we're we tend to make mistakes. Some of them are very bad, and like they really compromise the church. But also I try to think about that personal part I had but like whatever this priest is doing doesn't have to really affect me because my relationship with God is with me and him, like it's between him and me. And that's how I've gotten a little bit through these past 3 years. But it's been hard. It's been hard because of course it's very easy to be influenced by what's going on behind also Vatican walls or because of what some priests globally do or not do or what you hear or the lack of faith. Um, but well, right now we're in a new chapter of the church, so I think it's interesting to see how also Pope Leo is gonna lead the church or how he's leading the church because also what I saw when I came is that a lot of people didn't really like Pope Francis. he had his own ideas too. He's very yeah, he's very open, if you want to put it like that. So that also sometimes confuses people, and at some point it might have confused me too. But yeah, but right now in this precise moment, I'm very lucky because my relationship with God is very solid. It's very, I think it's on its prime, if you want to put it like that. And since I'm the coordinator of the movement Hakuna here, I still get to be connected with him because I go to Holy Hour every Tuesday. I go to Mass every Sunday. Uh, I have a spiritual director. He's very nice too. So if I have doubts, I know I can go and ask him, and he's gonna solve my questions, if you want to put it like that. And if I have had an experience that has touched me as a Catholic. Well, I remember, um, so if you see, I don't know if you have Hakuna in your countries, but in Spain it's something big. Like the churches in any holy hour or any event or any mass, they're always packed with a lot of young people. And here in Italy, it's not that known, but we have translated the songs. We have translated well, the gospel is already translated to Italian, but we've done a job of translation to get to more Italian people. But it's still hard because Rome is a very dynamic city. A lot of students and that come and go, so it's really hard to find like a group of friends that are stable. But it's very nice because right now we have it in this beautiful basilica in the middle of one of the main streets of Rome. The basilica is called Basilica de Sant'Andrea della Valle. It's dedicated to Saint Andrew. And so we sing the songs in Italian, and it's very nice so it's very cool because since it's open to everyone. Uh, a lot of people come in to the church, like even if it's tourism or like, oh my gosh, this church is still open at 9:30 at night. Like, let's go and see what's going on. And a lot of people like stay to see what's going on. And a lot of people too have like found God through the holy hours or just through an open church. And I think that's beautiful. Like the encounter that people have with God just because they got into a random church they found open, or just because they heard the lyrics to a song that they never thought that were like telling what they're or like questioning those questions they had inside. So I think that was one of my favorite personal experiences related to faith. Then let me see. Are you excited about the canonization this week? Oh my gosh, yes. It's so nice because today they put on the pictures on the facade of the basilica, so it's beautiful. Let me see if I can show you. I took a picture. I don't know if you're gonna be able to see it. If not, I'm gonna send it to the group later. Oh, let me see. So, oh my gosh, I think it's gonna be, I don't know if you see Carlos there. You have Carlos, and here on the other side, you have Pier Giorgio. So if you put the picture like this, it's a little taken from afar, but like you have Carlos over there and Pier Giorgio here. It's very nice because I walked through the basilica, like I walked through the square today, and I was like, oh my gosh, the pictures. So it's very cool because I think I've gotten to know Carlos a lot since being here. I also got to know Pier Giorgio, who I didn't really know until I found out through the Pope about him. And it's very nice because papal events uh this big, it's so nice. Like I love to see like the square full, a lot of young people sharing the same faith as you. Yeah, I could share the picture. Let me just send it. Are you in the group chat? Yeah, on Instagram. I'll send it there. Wait a second. Um, so I'm very excited because I've gotten to I think I've gotten to know, and this is my first canonization here in Rome. Can you believe it? Uh so it's huge. I'm so excited, and I'm very happy because my little brother is coming to Rome on Saturday. He's living in Spain, so to be able to share this with a saint that's so special for my family too. Well, it's not a saint yet, but that you know what I mean. Um, it's very nice. Like I'm very happy. I'll tell you everything about it.
And then I also wanted to ask, if are you also excited about the canonizations happening in October? Because
Oh yes.
like obviously not as many people are talking about it, just because like you've got like Blessed
Not
Pierre
yet.
Giorgio
Not
and
yet.
Carla Acutis who are
Give it a few weeks.
okay.
Yeah,
Because
because
then you also have like Blessed Bartolo Longo, whose
yeah,
story is just
this
like
is huge.
insane. All right.
But I think it's like I'll tell you something. I think uh this is how it works. So right now I think it's big not only because of the names that they're of the two guys that they're canonizing, but also because it's Pope Leo's first canonization. You know what I mean? So that's why it's so huge right now because it's Pope Leo. But I think this goes weekly. Like in 1 week, probably Carla Cutis and Pierre Jurgen are not gonna be talking themes, at least for the press, if you want to put it like that. So it goes weekly. The events go weekly also because since it's Jubilee year, um, every week there's an event. Every week there's an event. Every week, every day there's something going on. Imagine next week we'll have Andrea Bocelli, John Legend, um, Pyrrell Williams here in the Vatican. It's gonna be the topic of next week. Andrea Bocelli singing in the square. Can you see that? It's gonna be huge too. The next week it's the Jubilee of I don't remember what, but like every Sunday of October he has a mass too. So, but I'm excited of those canonizations too. Also because it's so cool. Like, oh my gosh, to live in this time. I don't know. Like, I don't think I like. I remember like other canonizations that I saw on YouTube, but like being able to live it in person, like, and like as a person that understands a little bit more how it works and why they're being canonized, um, it's very, very interesting. It's very, I met, well, no, I didn't meet her. I got to talk on the phone. That was the thing. I got to talk on the phone with the mother of the girl of the miracle, of the second miracle, Carlo Acutis. It's so crazy, like to hear the experience of that mother firsthand. It's amazing. On Saturday, if I have time to be there, my friend is interviewing Carla Cuti's mother too, so I really want to be there to get like to just to hear anything she has to say. I don't know, it's pretty exciting. It's pretty exciting. Any more questions?
Does anyone have another question, friends?
Do you, I shared the pictures on the group, by the way. On the group on like on Instagram. Could you tell us another story? Okay. Well, okay, this is personal, but like 3 years ago, I got to like my family got the chance to meet the Pope too. It's a very, very fulfilling experience because it's very unplanned also. So my parents live in Guatemala, my brothers live in Spain, and it had been a time like a couple of years since we spent Christmas together. And so that year I convinced them to like come to Rome and spend Christmas with me because the thing is that when you work for the Vatican, all the normal vacations that we used to take, they're non-existent for us because Holy Week and Christmas are the two times of the year that are the most like crazy. Like, of course, you need to cover it because they are the most important also for the church. Um, so that year my parents came and my brothers too, and I remember I asked for tickets for them for the general audience, and I was like, oh, I'm gonna go with them. And so the thing is that the day of that general audience was my mother's birthday, and I decided to bring a cake. And so we got into the audience hall, and I don't know if you've seen in any pictures of these guys that are dressed like penguins, with the suits that with the, I don't know how they're called in English, but like the penguin suits. And they're the ones that work for the PayPal household. They're the ones that give out the tickets. And so I decided to befriend one in that at that moment, and I told him like, "Oh, it's my mother's birthday. I know we're late, but like, is there any chance like uh she can meet the Pope? Like, I don't mind if it's only her, but like, is it possible?" And he was like, "Oh, well, let's see what we can do." So before the audience started, he moved us to first row. And normally inside the Pope Six hall, the Pope normally passes right in front of every, well, he used to pass in front of every fence. And I remember I was like, it's my moment. And so when he was approaching us, just when he was about to leave the hall, I pulled out the cake, and my mother was like, "Oh my gosh, why did you bring the cake? This is so embarrassing." I was like, "Mom, no worries. Don't say anything. Like, just follow the flow." And so it's very funny because uh the Pope came to her, and like he sang happy birthday, and he gave her a rosary, and he chatted with my brothers and my dad for a while. And it was very nice, very spontaneous too. It's a very cool story. I can tell you another story. I haven't really told you about the conclave and anything. That was very recent. But so the Pope went into the hospital on February 14th on Valentine's Day. And covering his stay in the hospital was crazy because it was a roller coaster, because we received a lot of messages from the doctors, and like it was like this, like his health was going like this. And when he got out, and he right before Holy Week, I don't know, it was very shocking to see him like so like bloated and like weak, but always with a smile. And I got the chance to greet him, well, to technically say goodbye to him 2 days before he passed away, because he didn't really participated on the Holy Week masses. He showed up after some of them. He showed up on one day before he passed. Showed up to the balcony to give his last Urbi et Orbi. But on the day before the vigil, he decided before to like go around the basilica just to go and see what's going on there, if he could find, like, this was like 3 hours before the vigil. And I don't know, I don't remember why I was there, but then I just started hearing people screaming like, "Ah, oh my gosh, the Holy Father." Now I don't know what I did in that moment. I think I just ran to the other side. I don't know how I escaped security, honestly. I think they saw me with like, my decision was very clear that I didn't really care what they had to say. And his former secretary, he knew me very well. His name is Juan, Padre Juan. And he called me and was like, "Sophie, come, come." So he called me, and he's like, "Say whatever you want." And so I greeted the Pope one last time there, and then I took a video of him greeting some other people. That was the last time I really said bye to him. And it was so like, I didn't really know at that moment, but he was like always like, he loved to give you thumbs up. And then his last Urbi was very heart touching too, because I think he was already having the stroke he had, because he couldn't really move this part of his face. Like you can see, he was having problems of movement, like on this side of his face. But it was very like significant, because it's crazy that his last message to the world and his last appearance was on Easter Sunday, with like 80,000 people in the square, and I don't know how many more watching on the TV. And so he passed away on Monday, 21st. We received the message. It was honestly very hard, because I like you know when someone's sick and you know it can happen in like any time, but like you're never going to be ready to receive a message like that. Like you're never going to be ready to receive like a passing away message, even if you know he's very sick, that anything could happen in any moment. So when we received the message, we were like in shock. Like I remember waking up like that day in here in Italy was the day off for everyone. It could have been technically our first day off since February 14th, but um but it was crazy. So I was getting ready to go to the beach with my friends, and then I received the message. And I woke up my roommate, and I was like, "Oh my gosh, oh my gosh, oh my gosh, oh my gosh." And she's like, "What's going on?" And I was like, "Oh my gosh." And like saying it out loud, it was it was hard. Like I didn't really believe myself. And I was like, "Oh my gosh, it has happened." And she's like, "What has happened?" And it's like, "Sophia, you need to speak clearly to me." And it's like the the Pope has passed away. And she's like, "I don't believe you." And I was like, check your email, check YouTube. We saw everything. And so it's very crazy because during that day he passed out, we didn't really believe it. And like it's that's like something that it really affected us journalists working here the whole time because we needed to separate our emotional part from our working part. Because as I was telling you before, like the Pope really has a close relationship with his journalists. So everyone here, every journalist has a picture, every journalist has a story with him, every journalist feels connected to him because we know what he does every day. So it was really a hard job to separate personal like emotions from like working emotions. And so it was very hard to go live sometimes. Thank God I didn't go live in any place because if not I would have been crying the whole live. Um but it was very shocking. But then during that week before the funeral is very like touching, like to hear his personal like collaborators tell their last memories with him. And so one that really like was heart heartfelt was his his nurse. Well, he's the father of one of my closest friends here in Rome. And so I got to speak with him, and I was like, "You were the last person to speak with the Pope. Like, you heard his last words. Can you tell me what they were?" And his nurse told me, like, he told me the Pope told him, "Thank you for bringing me one more time to the square to be with the people." And those were his last words. And it's very, like, impactful because the Pope originally didn't really want to go and do the round around the square because he didn't feel like he could survive it because I think he knew he was dying. And his nurse was like, "Yes, you can, like, yes, you can. They want one last farewell from you." And he was like, "Okay, I'll do it." And just because like his nurse convinced him, he went one last time out to the square and it was very touching. And then that week to see the amount of people that came in to say their last goodbyes, it was huge. Obviously, that was the weekend originally set up for the canonization of Carlo Acutis. So everyone that came for the funeral also was coming for Carlo Acutis. But it was really like it's really crazy to see like the change, like how the faith works because you come with one thing in mind, but then God's plans are other. And so he's like, "No, you're not here for the canonization. You're here to say goodbye to the Holy Father." So I don't know. It's very cool to also to see like a lot of young groups here, like bidding the last farewell to him too. And then of course like pre-conclave, conclave, it was crazy. Obviously, the conclave, getting to see the getting to see the smokes firsthand is surreal. Like it's surreal. It's another feeling. Like imagine like seeing in like all the screens of the square, the like the doors of the Sistine Chapel closing. Like the Sistine Chapel is there, but like you're seeing it like from like outside, what's going on inside, and like extra omnes and how they closed and like everyone out. I don't know. It was a very cool experience, and like to be there telling every like also we know that the election of a pope, it's all the Holy Spirit's doing. but we're so human that we're always placing bets on who might come out or who might do this or who might do that. And this is what the church needs. And like, so it's very nice to have like the list of the papables, if you want to put it like that. I had mine too. And it was very funny because Pope Leo was in my list. He was in my top three. So I remember like uh during these events, I normally give some interviews out to other media, and so I did two or three. And I remember there was one that asked me, in your personal opinion, who do you think might be the next pope? And I was like, oh, in my personal opinion, I don't know if I can give you my personal opinion, but I gave it, and I remember I said three, and like I forgot about it. And a few days after, they text me back, and he's like, "Oh my gosh, Sophie, your predictions were right. You said probably like Lord Francis Prevost. You said his name. He was on your list. This is so crazy. How do you feel?" And I don't know. So the feeling of like seeing the first black smoke, also because the day the conclave started was my birthday. So for me, it was a very special birthday too. Um, I don't know, like the environment, the feeling here, and then I remember I was about to go live with another journalist right before the white smoke, and then you started hearing screams of everyone like, "Ah, white smoke!" And like everything stopped. Worldwide, everything stopped. And then our press zone is next to the statues of the colonnade, so we can see everything from above. And so it's very cool because we get to see what's going on both sides of the balcony. So on one side you have the square and on the other side you have the street. So suddenly in the span of like 5 minutes, all the side of the street was packed with people running. You could hear the bells that could tell you that the new pope was elected. Like it's very funny how during 2 or 3 days everyone's paying attention to a chimney, like the most famous chimney in the world because it's literally, I don't know, what everyone's paying attention to for 48 hours, 3 days or whatever. So it's very cool. I don't know, it was very crazy. Like, I don't know. And I think that's I love that about a faith that you might not be Catholic, but like traditions in the Catholic Church are are the ones that captivate the attention of everyone that does not know anything about it. And so maybe that's the door for them to get in, to get to know more about the faith. Like, I don't know, it's just so contagious and I really enjoyed it. And it's still right now it's my favorite experience. Like covering a conclave. I remember I was crying and when he came out of the balcony, we were like, I don't know, it's just so crazy. It was amazing. It was amazing. 2 days I'm never gonna forget.